As city commissioner, I've been a strong advocate for wise, efficient investment in streets, sidewalks, trails, parks, you name it. And there's a lot of things that fall under infrastructure, even though we just kind of tend to think about the streets. What I mean by efficient, I think it's the free money or money coming from the federal government or the state government or grants. We've had a lot of success getting those grants, but they're getting smaller and smaller. State sharing is getting smaller. And really what we need to focus on is when we invest in a street, for example, what's the return on investment? We don't just invest in streets to move cars or to move people, multimodal in Traverse City, so we're moving more than just cars. We do it to generate wealth. That's wealth in the private industry, but also ultimately in the public revenue. We need to increase tax revenue. And we do that through, like 8th Street is a great example. It's an underperforming street in terms of tax value. Nothing against any of the business along there, but in a sense, it's because of the way it's been designed and the land use around it, we just haven't had the growth in tax revenue that a street like that, a commercial, mixed-use commercial street like that should have. So, that's why 8th Street, we're putting a lot of time into it in terms of planning, but I think when we're done, that's going to be a street where, people are going to want to invest in it. And they're going to want to invest, something more than just a single-story building. It's not going to be too high there. It's going to be, probably ultimately 4 stories is probably the max what we're going to get there. But that's a lot more efficient in terms of tax revenue. So when we invest, when I look at investments in infrastructure, ultimately, what is the return on investment to the city? And if we're not measuring that, I think we're doing it wrong. And we have success in Traverse City of doing this. We do it downtown. The DDA TIF actually requires us to plan out what kind of, over the next 30 years, if the TIF starts at year 1, it's going to be planned for 30 years. It requires us to have a plan. Like, we're going to do X, and that's going to generate X amount of growth in terms of tax revenue so that we can pay back the TIF. So we have the model already in Traverse City, and now I think we just need to apply that concept, if not the same similar tools, to other parts of the city. 8th Street I brought up, but Garfield Avenue, certainly, 14th Street. Even when we do things like trails, like the Boardman Lake Trail, for me is the return on investment is there is an economic return. There's also a social return. So we can get into the triple bottom line when we talk about return on investments, and that's when the math kind of gets complicated, and we have to have agreement on what we're moving forward. But I think that's what we do at the City Commission, we do at the other commission levels, and ultimately what we do in the community is let's have a discussion, let's move forward, what's the shared vision, and then let's agree on a path forward. So I guess infrastructure for me is all those things combined, but ultimately we need to be able to measure it.